Hello, Brian Weeks here again with another MMCD contract consideration. This video clip will discuss a series of related errors in the user guide commentary on GC 9.4 regarding offsetting quantity variations. This is not a typical contract consideration where I discuss how the contract language is to be applied. Rather, it is a clarification of misinformation contained in our user guide. Now, I was the author of the user guide, and I was the one who missed the problem when it was proof for publishing. So I'm the most appropriate person to discuss how this happened and what corrections should be made. The problem occurs in the commentary on general conditions in section 3 of the user guide. There are, however, slight variations between the hard copy version compared to the electronic version as they were edited differently. Note that the hard copy has 52 pages in section 3, but the electronic copy has 54. The additional pages contain the incorrect examples. First, let's review the concept of a quantity variation. What is it? A quantity variation is the difference between the quantity of a line item at the time of tender and the quantity that is actually needed at the end of the work. However, this discrepancy must exceed either plus or minus the threshold variance percentage as defined in GC 1.76. This is normally 15%. Within the plus or minus 15% range, the contractor must live with any variance. Furthermore, even if the discrepancy exceeds the threshold, quantity variation adjustments are not automatic. Either the owner or the contractor must request a review in writing. So why did the MMCD Association feel it was appropriate to include the ability to adjust prices based on quantity variations? Well, quantity variation adjustment is one of the 5 main ways the documents apportion risk appropriately between the parties. Proper risk allocation limits the amount of risk premium that contractors have to include in their tender prices. Quantity variation adjustment protects both contractors and owners. It can be used to protect contractors from significant underruns, which prevent them from recovering the fixed costs and profits allocated to work that was indicated when tendering, but which was not actually needed. It can also be used by contractors to protect against their own bid errors, but only when the quantities overrun significantly. But owners get protection too. If an owner suspects bid unbalancing or excessive prices, the owner can ask for a review of the pricing once the quantity passes the 115% level. If excessive prices are proven, more appropriate prices will be applied to quantities above that level. General Condition 9.4 in Volume 2 explains how the quantity variation process is to function. GC 9.4.1 explains that either party can request a price review when the threshold is exceeded in either direction. GC 9.4.2 sets out the exception that optional work is exempt from quantity variation for underruns only. GC 9.4.3 sets out the adjustment rules for both underruns and overruns in all other cases. GC 9.4.4 requires the contractor to provide all necessary documentation no matter which party initiated the review. GC 9.4.5 gives the CA the responsibility and authority to make an initial decision on the adjusted price if the two parties cannot come to agreement. So specifically, what is the problem and how did it happen? It occurred during the revisions to Volume 2 as it was being updated from the Gold Book to the Platinum Edition. The Documents Committee was considering allowing owners to offset or net out values of quantity overruns against underruns. I was writing the user guide at that time and incorporated the references and examples of draft language that were being discussed for the Volume 2 updates. However, in the end, the Documents Committee decided not to allow this concept, so the contract documents in Volume 2 make no provision for offsetting variances. However, in editing the user guide, not all references to the draft clauses and their related examples were properly removed. Due to different editing, there are slight differences in the resulting errors between the hard copy version and the electronic copy of the user guide. As shown on this slide, in the paper version there are only 2 places that you need to mark deletions. Pause your video here to get the locations and corrections if you're making changes to your copy now. If you have an electronic version, you will not be able to edit it. There will be an advisory on our website, www.mmcd.net, which lists the required corrections. Or you can take a screen copy of this slide and file it for future reference when using your electronic copy. Any newly issued electronic copies will have these corrections already made. As always, the owner has the ability to alter the standard MMCD prior to tender by using its own supplementaries. Should an owner decide that offsetting quantity variations is something it wishes to enable, the owner just has to write appropriate supplementary general conditions. In this case, the owner will need to A. alter GC 9.4.3 to allow this offsetting, and B. add additional conditions into GC 9.4 to make provision for adjustment to contract time separate from costs, because it's highly unlikely that time adjustments can be offset as simply as dollars. This was one of the stumbling blocks for the Documents Committee when trying to fashion equitable language around this topic. Owners always need to keep in mind that while they can write any supplementaries they choose, if those supplementaries are perceived by contractors to be unfair, contractors will price accordingly or choose not to bid. To summarize, number 1, quantity variation adjustments can benefit both owners and contractors. Number 2, the user guide commentary is wrong to indicate the general conditions allow for offsetting of overruns against underruns. Number 3, the user guide is just a guide, not a contract document, so its comments are not binding. Number 4, owners can implement the concept of offsetting variances by writing supplementary general conditions, but keeping that fair is not an easy task. I hope this contract consideration clears up any confusion created by the inadequate editing of the Platinum Edition Volume 1 User Guide. Please check our website for further assistance and to see what other topics are presented in this series. Thanks for watching.